Hello, my beautiful loves, and I'm so excited to welcome you back to another episode of Alumni on Air. Here, where we bring amazing alums like this beautiful angel right here into the TFA Memphis office so they can share their stories of how they got to TFA Memphis and what they're doing after the core. I am Dr. Jamisha Hayes. I'm the Managing Director of Programs. I'm a 2011 TFA Memphis alum. And I am thrilled to do this work with the amazing James Larkin. He's behind the camera. Give him some love, y'all, because without him, none of this would be possible. Seriously, I don't know how to do it. He has switchboards and headphones. It's a lot. But I love him, but I also love this amazing individual right here beside me because this is just a phenomenal person, y'all. One of the first people I coached, one of the first people that really reminded me and inspired me to say this work continues and is continuing in great hands. And so I'm excited to have this amazing individual, Devonna Nickeo.
Hi, yes. My name is Devonna Nickeo. I am a 2016 core member alumna. And just a little bit about who I am.
Yeah, who are you? Tell us who you are.
I'm trying to figure that out every day. But who I've been, I am currently a Dean of Students at Memphis Rise Academy, which was actually my placement school. Mm-hmm. I've been there since the very beginning of my time in Memphis. I feel like I'm kind of from a lot of different places.
Okay, tell us all the places.
Yeah, so my parents are from the Caribbean, from a small island called Antigua, and so I feel very Antiguan.
Okay.
But I was born in New York and raised in New York. Moved to Georgia, where I went to high school and college, University of Georgia, which is where I was recruited for Teach for America. Actually, one of my friends at the time, I wasn't sure what I was going to do after college. She was like, I just applied for Teach for America. You should do it with me. You should apply. So I applied, got in. She ended up not following through, but that's okay because she found her life journey and that's cool. But then I have been in Memphis for the last 10 years. So that's where I am. I've met my husband here, some of my best friends here. I've grown so much from being in Memphis and specifically through Teach for America Memphis.
See, y'all, so we hook you up with love, with the career. We really make sure that you have a full, well-rounded life, okay? So if you're thinking about how can I have a great life in 2026 and beyond, go ahead and apply to Teach for America and specifically put down Memphis. Now, did you select Memphis or were we not, was it I wanted Memphis or nowhere else, or was it multiple options? How did it go?
So I specifically chose Memphis because my friend had chosen Memphis.
Yeah.
She had met, I'm going to throw some throwback names, Katie Fred, Carly Pass. And she's like, they are so amazing. She said really lovely things about Memphis. So Memphis was on my list. But I didn't know much about Memphis except for the fact that Justin Timberlake, was born here. That's the lore. And so I put Nashville. Sorry. I think Dallas. I think Hawaii.
I put Hawaii too.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know what I was thinking either.
But
I did.
did.
So take us back. So it's 20. So when you applied, it was 2016.
2016, I was on the last deadline.
Okay. So how was that experience? That's a different experience to be the last deadline.
For sure. Different for a few different reasons. For the application process itself isn't so different, but there is that pressure of this is the last chance, I need to get in or not get in. It kind of forced me to make some decisions in a good way.
Yeah.
To make some decisions. I feel like I'm a pretty good interviewer, and so having the phone interview and then doing the in-person interview was a really important process for me, just kind of strengthen those skills. And then I distinctly remember having to prepare my little lesson plan. I don't know if they still do this. Do you still have to do your lesson plan? Wow. My roommate at the time was an education major, so she told me to look up the standards. And I made a little who, what, why board. It was very cute. And interestingly enough, one of my future core mates ended up being in that interview with me.
What?
Yes, Dr. Shanique Johnson. Shout out to
Oh,
her.
Shanique!
Yeah.
Love you!
We were in the same interview. It was so great.
And they don't get that necessarily this time. So that's a good, doing the interview in person, coming in, having to do your sample lessons, spending an entire day with people that could be your fellow corps members is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you get in the corps and you move from Georgia and you get here for Institute.
For Institute.
So tell me about your Institute experience.
What a time. So part of what made my Institute experience a little bit different than others, I had taken the praxis literally days before I drove up here, drove up to Memphis with my parents. And a lot of my corps mates already had their job placements. So in addition to learning about teaching and moving to a new city and trying to figure out young adulthood, I was 21 when I moved. I'm also trying to figure out how to find an actual teaching job. And so I just had a lot on my plate. I feel extremely blessed to have the family that I have. Made some incredible people. I love my corps, by the way. I hope everyone says that, but I absolutely love my corps. I think our 2016 corps from day one really clicked. We pushed each other a lot. And truly some of my favorite people in the whole world I met that summer. And so in addition to trying to find my way and trying to find a job and learning more about myself, I also had the on-campus experience, which was not too hard for me because I had spent most of my college experience living on campus.
Right.
So living on campus was not too bad for me. I also shared rooms with people, so shout out to Allison and Joshi, my roommate that summer. We just clicked very well, so it was definitely a learning curve. I'm thankful I passed my praxis before coming here because that was one less thing on my plate.
Yes.
I distinctly remember being in, what is that building? It's the building right across from the psychology building.
Centennial?
Maybe.
Or the psychology building. What is that?
I was just there the other day actually.
Not Ball Hall.
Maybe the FedEx building.
Oh, FedEx building.
FedEx. I remember being in the FedEx building, taking our DEI courses, meeting each other for the first time. I remember walking up to Chris and being like, I want to work in DEI for Teach for America one day. He was like, okay, maybe one day still. But yeah, I just think Institute is an exhausting process, but in that exhaustion we found really important bonds and I learned a little bit more about myself and my grit. So yeah, that was Institute for me.
So did you get a job during Institute or did you?
I did. I think that was the first year we could choose, we could pick our offers.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
So I had 2 offers and I ended up going with Memphis Rise, where I've been for the last 10 years. So one thing that I still really love about my school are our core values. I identify as being a very ambitious person. Ambition is one of our core values.
You are ambitious.
I try. And yeah, I don't know. The executive director, Jack Bolstad, who's also a Teach for America alum, not through Memphis, but I think Illinois.
Yeah. He's on the board for us right now too.
He's on the board. Hey, Jack. He, I think, really instilled a sense of possibility in me. Not that the other school didn't. They were really, really awesome. And I think there's probably a timeline out there where I go in that direction. Right. But Jack watched me teach. He gave me good feedback. He just invested in me starting from there, even up to now. And so I was like, this is the place.
So you found a school that warmed your heart, and then you got into teaching, your first year teaching. What was that experience like? What were some highlights and potentially the lowlights?
First year teaching is a blur.
It is probably.
I think. So at that time, I was living by myself in downtown-ish, medical district, uptown-ish part of Memphis. so there was that. Like, I had made all these really great friends, but then I was kind of living by myself. And so, actually, one of my other core mates, Gina Ramos, hi.
Hey,
Just say
Gina.
people's names. She and I would drive to work every day. We would carpool to work every day, and so that gave me the boost that I needed every day. And so she really helped me through that first year of teaching. The kids, I'm still very obsessed with all of the students that I taught that year. They're like parents now. They have gone off to college. A lot of them are working. I have one particular student who I told him, I was like, every year you have to text me at least once and tell me that you're okay. And so he'll text me usually around New Year's and be like, Miss Nickeo, I'm doing okay, and that warms my heart. And so I mention those two people specifically and the students because it's really the people that helped me find my way through that first year of teaching. And our school was also different at that time. We were a much smaller school, you know, and so there was a lot of working together. I was observing other teachers. I was having to Google a lot of things. There was no AI for me to look through. The world was also very different at that time. And so through the overwhelm that is the first year of teaching, I was able to find a path forward. Still really good friends with a lot of people that I taught with that year. Like I mentioned, still have really great relationships with a lot of my students from that time. And so, yeah, it was a blur, but from what I can remember, I made it through, so here we are, 10 years later.
So did you have the same content in grade level in your second year as you did your first year?
I did. I actually taught 6th grade writing for 5 years.
So let's walk through that experience. So you did your first year, okay, you made it through. So then your second year, was there anything different or was it about the same?
Oh, definitely different. I was a harsher teacher my second year. I think my first year I was still learning the ropes, so it was like really nice. I'm like, kids, like they gotta be kids, man. And then my second year I was like, I'm not taking any crap from anyone, like really hard. And I think that's something that a lot of teachers do from first to second year, especially if you're in the same content area. And so I had a real reality check, I think about halfway through my second year, when I had a student like very emotionally tell me that I was being too hard on her. And that for me was like, oh, I had a bit of an overcorrection. So I don't think it was until my third year that I feel like I found the sweet spot of being like a more warm, strict, firm and loving kind of person. I also say a difference in my second year is I had Ramon as my mentor, and he really tried to help. No, I had you my second year, and then I had Ramon my third year. Right? I flip-flopped you. I had you my second year, which also made a huge difference. And I remember you sitting me down and saying, you've got it, like teaching, you can do teaching. What I want to see you do is develop your leadership in the classroom. I don't think I really understood what that meant until my third or fourth year. Yeah. Because I think as a young teacher or someone who has less experience teaching, you think that teaching is standing in front of kids and like helping them learn academics, but really what teaching is modeling. Not just the instruction, but your character, your energy, and that is a lot of what students remember. And I think we could all probably say that about our own experiences. There are teachers who, for better or for worse, we remember the way that they made us feel in the classroom. So that's how I kind of started to grow and develop in my second and third year.
I love that. So with Ramon, you got a little bit more direction on leadership in your third year. And so let's talk about that distinction just for a second, because I do think people come into TFA either with teaching experience or the background or nothing, and I think they think it all comes together within 2, 3, 4 years, and it's like no, it's going to be some time, and you're still developing. So talk about that process a little bit more in alumnihood. So third year alumni, what was going on for you? Third, fourth year alumni.
So my second year, I started to develop the DEI program at Rise. It started with me just like planning Black History Month. And so by my third year, I really wanted to expand that. So that came with like trying to plan other cultural events. I led a couple of PD sessions. And through those experiences, I started to really hone in on the parts of educational leadership that are beyond the classroom. Because by the time teachers get in front of students, there are a lot of things that are already taking place in the background.
Yes.
That's really kind of like not the end, but that's kind of like closer to the end of the road. Before teachers get into the classroom, there's what's their cultural competency, what's the instructional moves. Before that, it's who's going to be responsible for teaching them those things, what's going to be the system that all of these things exist in. And so in my third year is when I really started to get a taste for that. And I'm excited to I'm excited to report that a lot of the work that I started in that year still exists at Rise. There's a committee that we have now. I think teachers make cultural competency and cultural appreciation more of the forefront of their interactions with students in their lesson planning, especially around like Women's History Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I think that was a huge vehicle for me to explore leadership beyond the classroom and also in front of the classroom because I was still teaching a lot of that time. So there were overlapping layers. It was exhausting, I'm not gonna lie. There were lots of nights that I stayed way too late, cried a few tears, but we're here now.
And so when you take all that into consideration, I want you to take us back to when you joined the Corps and you had your vision of one day. Because everybody had to have, like, what does one day look like? What was that vision? And are you currently living that now?
That's a great question. I didn't think about it. I cannot tell you exactly what I thought my version of one day was going to be for me, but I can tell you that I was really invested in the idea of one day.
Okay, tell me more.
I am still devoted to the idea that every child deserves a great education. I still hold very steady that my own education has launched me into like where I am now, for better and for worse. Okay. I went to a predominantly white high school and a predominantly white college institution. And so there's so much that I loved about my experience, but there are lots of times that I felt the marginalization, and I wanted to, and I still want to make sure that students everywhere don't have to experience that. And so I think a lot of my work has been motivated by what I didn't have as I'm getting a little bit more experience. It's also about providing students what I did have. And so I think that's kind of the difference for my one day now. So it's like, what did I love about my childhood that I want to give students? And so for me right now, that's books. So I've been working really hard in our school library, trying to get some donations, trying to even decorate this space a little bit more, exhibit some leadership and working with our person who works in the library and collaborating with her, and we work together to do incentives or newsletters or whatever the case is. So I hope I answered the question.
You did. And what I loved about that is that you showed that the one day vision that all of us as TFA core members, alumni, and staff members live by, that one day all children have access to excellent education. It can be fluid in regards to what it looks like for everyone along the journey, but we're all working towards that. And so you initially came in probably with a more instructional lens, like you said, what you didn't have. I love that you named that, because a lot of times we come in to teaching, and I say we as a core members and alums, and it's very much like, that happened to me, I'm not gonna let that happen again. And it's like, but I love how you flipped it to say, what did I get? What did I enjoy? And what can I offer? Because I think it then allows us to lean back into, we're never empty vessels.
Yeah.
And the same way our babies are not empty vessels. And so we can focus on what isn't, and that's true. We do need to address the things that are wrong, and what's already exists that we can pour into and share. So I love that. I really do. So when we think about where you are, you're a dean of students now. What's one thing that you were experiencing as a dean of students that when you saw somebody with the job, you were like, this is what I would do different, but now that you're in it, you're like, maybe I could have thought about that differently, or maybe. Like, basically, did you have any other, like, did the experience match the expectation you had before you got in? That's a better question.
That is a great question. It's hard to say because I wasn't around a whole lot of deans. I think the dean that I had before I stepped into the role, I think he did the very best that he could with the time and the access and the resources that he had. He was only one dean. I'm lucky to be a co-dean, and my co-dean and I, we love each other. If he tells you differently, he's lying. He's lying. No, we get along really well, and I've learned a lot from him too, and his experience. He, came into our school from teaching music and his own educational experiences in Memphis. And so was able to come to our school with fresh eyes. And so in many ways, he's challenged me to think about things differently, encouraged me. He's also brought a lot of resources and connections to people that I've grown to really appreciate and I've learned a lot from. And I think he would say the same. Like, I brought my own lens, my own passions and fervor and experience, and so we balance each other really well. So I'm trying to think about your original question.
Did the experience match the expectation of that role? No, but I don't really know that I had a good frame of reference for what that role could be in the first place. And I'm glad you admitted that, because I think a lot of times, and I'm doing this because so many of our core members and alums are in situations where I've been teaching for 5 years or 2 years. It's like, when I get to be principal, I'm gonna do something different. And I don't think people recognize you might not really even have a real lens into that role and experience until you're there.
Right.
And what you just did was so beautifully gracious, and that's why I said she's an angel, because you have to remember the people that came before you, they had a whole different set of circumstances and experience they're navigating, and so they make the best decisions they can make within that, within reason, because we do have to hold people accountable.
For sure.
And I think when we assume the best, like I see you doing, right, and leaning into seeing the strengths and leaning into the vulnerability of like, hey, I don't really know, so let me lean in. You get this beautiful experience of what I've heard about that you provide for your staff and for your students, because you're not just coming in there with the archetype, you opened yourself up to what's possible.
And I think my journey was also unique in the sense that I went from the classroom to operations, and I did a year in operations while also simultaneously doing NDCC or our DEI program. So my leadership journey is multi-tiered in that way, and so coming into being a dean, it was just a different place than I think maybe the previous dean was coming from. Not in a good way or a bad way,
But
just different.
And I think that's something too for people to pull out is like we have different paths to get to our roles and our dreams, and all of it still aligns. Operations stuff is actually really important for a dean of culture because you're doing a lot of structures and systems and creating routines and things, and so I think all of it. I love your journey, and I love how things have played out.
Thanks.
So when we think about now in terms of paying it forward, so you are now sitting in a seat of 10 years in the game, 10 years. What advice would you give to an incoming core member or a core member in their first or second year right now?
Take it one day at a time. Find what brings you joy about being a teacher. And observe a lot. Pay attention. Pay attention to the kids. Observe who they're friends with. What's their home life like? Like, do they light up when they hear a certain song, or what are their interests? But also observe the adults in the building. I think that I would not be the teacher that I am today if I didn't take the time to kind of, I like have this image of me sitting at the feet of all of the teachers who were like more experienced than me and just listening to their stories. And I think that gave me a level of realism about what this job is going to be. Also allowed me to soak in their wisdom. And I think especially for Teach for America core members, we go into it being like, I have the passion, I have the drive, and I want to do this, and I know I just came from college, so I know what it's like to be a student, and all of that is extremely valid.
Yes.
And the knowledge that other educators have is also very valid. It's extremely valid and important, and frames and gives you context that we may not always have. So pay attention to the people around you, the kids and the adults. That's gonna help you go a long way. And if you choose not to stay in the classroom, it's still a good skill to have anyways. Some transferable skills.
A lot of transferable skills, and I love that you told them about observation. I'm actually learning that right now. It's a struggle for me because I'm such a doer, but I didn't realize that observation is an action.
Yeah.
It's a way for you to really know what to do and to do it in a way that doesn't drain you or burn you out. So the last thing is, what advice would you give to our fellow alums? At this point, we are coming up on 20 years here in TFA Memphis existing, 35 years of TFA in general. And so what would your call to action be or advice be to our fellow alums?
As my co-dean would say, don't forget the bridges that carried you across.
I love it.
I think that, there's a whole spectrum of experiences that people have in Teach for America. I feel really lucky to have had a really positive experience, to love my core, and to learn a lot.
Right.
But even in experiences that people don't love so much, I've always heard people mention at least one person or one child, or at least there's always somebody, there's always some bridge that helps carry you to the next thing. And so I would just encourage alumni, don't forget where we started. People say you gotta know where you started to know where you're going. I think that no matter how loving or how difficult that experience might have been, it's still yours and it's still valid. And it has built you. It's built you. So don't forget how that's carried you over to where you are now. And you're going to be a bridge for other people. So think about what kind of bridge you're going to be.
Drop some bridges in the chat, okay? I don't know if there's an emoji for that or whatever.
There's a bridge emoji.
Okay, well, put the bridge in there because I think that, I've heard people talk about, don't forget the bridge. You came over on a bridge with the people to build the bridges you built, But I see myself in my own experience, and I didn't think about like some of that building of the bridge. It came with nails sticking me. It came with like, oh, I thought this was starting to fell through, and I had to get back up and start back over, and all those things. And so I did it on my own. And your story alone, you talked about Ramon, you talked about Gina, you talked about your Cody, you talked about me, you talked about me. Like, it's so many people that were with you building that bridge. And for so many of us as alums, I do think we have to remember that there's so many people with us. And I love what you said about you're being the bridge for somebody else. We're 70,000 plus strong, y'all, as alums. And so we are connected. If we're not even, if we want to be, we can be really connected, and we can build even more and bigger bridges. Especially for ourselves, but also more importantly for one day for all our babies. And
and you can go at your own pace. Like, you don't have to, don't pay attention to how fast other people are building bridges, or when people are getting into principalships or doctorate programs. Like, you don't have to pay attention to that. Comparison really is a thief of joy. This is my 10th year, and I graduate in May with my master's degree. A lot of thank you. A lot of my friends, got their master's degree in their second or third year, and I definitely felt that pressure. What am I gonna do? Oh my God, I'm still here. But yeah, I am still here.
and you're loving it.
And that's okay. I'm still here. So take your time. Go at your pace.
And I haven't said it on here, take your pace, but also congratulations on your nuptials.
Yeah.
All of that. See, if you hadn't taken your time, what would have happened? What would
have
happened?
If I had rushed myself, where would I be?
Where would you be?
We dread to think about it. I'm not gonna think about it.
Well, hopefully you all got as much inspiration and just that little pour in your cup. You know how you had that first sip of coffee or tea, and then it's like, that was good, but then you get that second one, it's like, I'm really good. That's what I just felt listening to you. You really warmed my spirit. Thank you. Thank you. And so I hope it's nourishing. I hope it helps you out. And again, y'all, we have 2 more episodes coming. So make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you're sharing and posting. If you ever want to be on, please reach out to James or myself. We would love to have you as a guest. Have a good one.
Thank y'all.